after 1 hour. I won't say the
แล้ว
time.
เรา
We're all
จะ
on
ปิด
different time zones, but
ปิด
we
ราย
will
การ
finish
ซู
this
มหลัง
session
จาก
in
1 ชั่วโม
1 hour.
ง
So let's see
ดัง
those
นั้น
slides, Muncie, and
ขอเชิญดู
do
สไล
our
ด์ก่อนนะคะ
introduction through that. So, Pass with Honours
ส
starts
อบผ่านด้
today.
วยเกียรตินิยม จบสิ้นความคิดไร้ประโยชน์ 30 วันแห่งพลังทางจิตวิญญาณ ใช้เวลาสักครู่ ในหน้าจอของเธอ ดวงวิญญาณที่รวมตัวกัน แล้วก็ร่วมกันให้ความใส่ใจ การฝึกฝนนี้ เป็นเวลาที่ยาวนาน จะทำให้ลูกสอบผ่านด้วยเกียรตินิยม ด้วยการใส่จุด full stop แห่งพลังแห่งการจัดเก็บ จะทำให้ลูกสอบผ่านด้วยเกียรตินิยม คำว่า pass มี 3 ความหมาย ความหมายที่ 1 หมายถึงสอบผ่านทุกข้อสอบที่เข้ามา ความหมายที่ 2 pass PAAS หมายความว่าคงอยู่อย่างใกล้ชิดกับบัพดาดา อันที่ 3 PAST pass แปลว่าให้อดีตเป็นอดีต ปรัชญาเบื้องหลังวัตตีวันนี้นะคะวัตตีของ Pass with Honor เนี้ย ความคิดไร้ประโยชน์จะไม่จบสิ้นด้วยการรบรากับความคิดเหล่านั้น แต่มันต้องใช้
criticizing yourself, using willpower. That's not the way we're going to do this. It's by filling with spiritual power, so there's no room for waste, because waste just fills the space when power is missing. So bring in the power and the waste will leave on its own. So it's going to be over 4 weeks with 4 steps. 1, which is this week, week 1, is how we get hooked into waste. And that's what we're going to explore a bit today. And then secondly, deepen that to look at the subtler patterns, the self-judgments, attractions, agitations. And then week 3, relationships. Waste that lives in connection with others, which it says here is the hardest layer. And then fourthly, the 4th week, very BK specific, patterns unique to a spiritual life. Service, yoga, Baba's love, the body. So the very subtle ones that trap us because they are subtle. So we're going to start with this week, 7 days, 7 powers. So transforming waste thought into spiritual power. And in essence, rerunning conversations, which is called a loop that you just keep bringing up again and again. So for that, we need the power to merge. Replaying what is already past, just replaying that scene. The power to pack up. The pull toward distraction, scrolling, clicking, anything that's distracting us, bringing us into extroversion. So for that, we need the power to withdraw. Rushing and impatience. So a lot of waste comes through that. So the power of coolness. And questioning, what will happen? How will it happen? So the power of the trusteeship. And jumping to worst case conclusions. So just always thinking of the thing, how bad it can be. So
ถ้า
this is the
4 ชิป
power of faith. And then rehearsing mistakes, so not letting go of them. So we need the power of transformation. We think that we will learn by keeping them in our mind, but no, the power of transformation. So just as an example, jumping to worst case conclusions. So for this, we need the power of faith. And every day we'll have these same 4 parts. Baba's magic mantra, the pattern that we get hooked into, the drill, and a dialogue between the soul and Baba. And the waste thought, something uncertain arises and the mind leaps to the worst possible outcome. It lives through the disaster before anything has happened. So we won't go into the details. You can download these by clicking on the email that you received, week 1. So these are all the materials for week 1. And there's also, at the end, we'll show you the portal that you can access everything. And the translators have their languages as well. And it's designed to be simple, practical, and manageable. So Amrit Vela is to just do that first, the 5 steps, do the drill. This is the main daily practice, and the idea is to take power from Baba at Amrit Vela. And then in the morning, read the Soul Baba dialogue, memorize the mantra, and carry that mantra of the day throughout the day. And then during the day, when waste thoughts come, use the mantra. And if it persists, if it doesn't stop, sit for 2 minutes and move through that drill again. And then before sleep, there's also a chart, a weekly chart that's being provided. So fill in the weekly chart, count honestly, but don't judge the numbers. It's all about awareness. Awareness is already transformation. No need to commit to all 30 days. Simply begin. Begin with week 1. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be, but you have to be willing. And each day you use the power. It's a victory already, that you're just using that power. And the practice builds over time. Amrit Vela becomes the anchor. But missing a day is not failure. Just return to the practice. That's the main point of it, to keep going with the practice. And don't try to revise the other days. Just start on that day. So for the next 30 days, let's just all now sit with this intention all together, and then we'll go into our chit-chat soon, but let's sit with this intention. I will use each day's spiritual power to finish the waste thought of that day. I will practice. I will return. I will pass with honor. So let's all have this intention together now. And then we'll move into the next slide. So pass with honor, and it's pass with honor, finish waste, 30 days of spiritual power, and that's the pass. That's the way this tiny URL to get into the materials, into the portal. So you can take a photo with your phone, you can write it down, or you can look at the email because it's on there. So welcome to everyone. Welcome to these 30 days. And welcome to Brother Charlie, who's with me here in Yarra Valley. So it's quite wonderful that we can begin on the first day, the 1st of April. It begins today with Brother Charlie.
So thank you, Morni. It's lovely to be in the beautiful Yarra Valley Retreat Centre. And yeah, it's a lovely program, and just listening to Morni share, it's a very practical way, isn't it? And spirituality has to be practical, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To really, sometimes the account of waste is, we take it for granted, but this is a practical methodology to really reduce the waste in the soul.
Yeah. And just going through the materials, I found it very helpful and new ways of looking at it. So I thought we could just talk about 3 or 4 of these. We won't have probably time to cover everything. I'll just say there's some water there for you.
Thank you.
So today, the 1st of April, it's about the power to merge. And what we tend to do is we rerun conversations that are unresolved, and we kind of hope to get some answers. But what they're saying in this is every replay adds another interpretation. So actually, instead of finishing it, we make it more complicated. We add to it with all these interpretations. Understanding comes from stillness, not from more thinking. What do you think?
I think because we still respond to everything in an emotional way rather than a knowledgeful way. So something has happened, it's triggered feelings, so waste just sort of flows through my head. And because I've taken a little bit of sorrow or hurt from this situation, all my emotions get triggered, and that just is the seed of so much waste. I think really I have to look at everything, don't I, through a knowledgeful framework. And so I think only then can I really, through understanding what happened in a knowledgeful way, put it to bed. So if someone has criticized me, and sometimes that's hurt me in a way, I have to stand back and say, well, maybe the criticism wasn't appropriate, but actually I've allowed that to enter my inner world. Why did I do it? Just sort of reinforcing wisdom rather than emotion. My sort of response should be, with understanding rather than just emotion. And so that stopped the constant replaying. I think it's an awareness too, Morni, because when I replay this again and again, I remember once David Jenkins saying, you just deepen the sanskara. Actually, you're just creating a deeper sanskara. And Baba has often said that actually negativity, a lot of us deal with, but waste, the account of waste often gets more and more.
Yeah.
It increases, in fact. The negativity may reduce, but the account of waste can increase.
And we have to be so careful of that, because that's how we create the sanskar. And we're just creating sanskars with a good intention, because, what it's saying here is that, we go over it, but they call it the loop. So we think that we might get more understanding, but like what you're saying is we don't, because it's emotion, it's not gyan, it's not knowledge, and so it's just going to be a replay.
Sometimes I think churning is looking through the filter of truth. My whole perception is looking through God's truth. And I perceive scenes and personalities. But our addiction is to look through the filter of feelings, emotion, and that distorts truth.
Yeah.
And that's where really, I think, to begin to deal with waste, because really the account of waste makes you weak. That's what I remember once Baba said, waste and power have a deep relationship. More waste, less power.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what it's really looking at. And of course, we always think of the ocean when we think of this power to merge. And so in the materials, it's saying, you know, just to have this thought, I am the junior ocean. The junior ocean, that's a new one. Merging everything and becoming still.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, I think when you were just saying that, in a way, to be knowledgeful in this life, I have to become like an observer of the self, don't I? You know,
detached,
I think,
like you're saying, away from the emotions. We can't observe if we've got emotions.
We can't. And I often think we observe the scenes of drama as a detached observer, but the self, I have to be an honest observer, don't I? And how much wisdom does it take to step back away from myself and look back at myself in an objective way and observe how I've let myself come under the influence of a personality, a situation that just generates all the waste. And the thing is to take responsibility. The reason the waste goes on is still underneath it. I think you're the problem. You're actually making me have the waste. Still, I think that's there. Unless I say all waste is my responsibility, I don't think it'll change much.
Yeah, and that's why I like what you're saying. Honest, the honest observer. We all know we need to be an observer, but when it comes to self, an honest observer. And then the second one that's mentioned is the power to pack up. And what often happens is we replay a scene that's already finished. It's similar, but the other one sometimes hasn't finished. It's just a loop and you're just stuck. This one's finished, but we keep just replaying it. And the intellect then is not in, when it's not engaged in churning, then it defaults to replays. Because that's what happens when we don't have something new there, just keeps rehashing the old.
You know, I once read that in psychology they say that 70% of our thinking is of the past. So
more.
You know, and mainly because we've taken a little bit of sorrow, a lot of sorrow, so we replay the scene and we replay the emotion that I felt in the scene. So I strengthen the sanskara. And it's like, it's awareness, isn't it? That all I'm doing is damaging myself each time. And why do I replay the scene? Personally, I think it's my ego. My ego's been pricked and I've been hurt by somebody. So I just keep replaying this feeling that it wasn't fair. And I think, once again, it's like when I'm really jnani and knowledgeful, and when I stand back and become the honest observer, I'm just damaging myself. I'm strengthening a sanskara. I'm not actually clearing my karmic account, which is really why I've come to Baba, is to clear all this stuff.
And the scene doesn't actually need more understanding. It needs a full stop. So this is the power to pack up. I now have to return home, baggage free, just Baba and I. So is that going to be what it's like at the end, that it's just me and Baba going home and not all of that stuff?
You know, once Daddy Janki, this program is called Pass with Honor. And Daddy Janki once said the quality of the 8 jewels is they can put a full stop in a second. And that's the ultimate state of wisdom, that I can see the whole scene and I look through the filter of truth, the karmic stories. I understand and I let it go in 1 second. I mean, absolute spiritual power, isn't it? That you can move on. And I remember once watching Daddy Ji come into the courtyard. And you know, those of us who remember, she'd go and acknowledge everybody. Remember, she'd nod her head. And she came to one person who was really reactive to her, quite negative. And she just moved on. And I could just see in her face, she didn't absorb any of it at all. She could see what happened. But you know, you can see in the faces someone's absorbed a little bit of that negativity. Nothing.
Not at all.
It was like, it was amazing. She could see this person's stage. She didn't absorb it. It's like full stop in a second. And that's the ultimate state of spiritual power, I would say, to put it, because the emotion wants to revise it. The emotion wants to prove I'm right, prove them wrong. You know how all the the sort of the personality of emotion. It just wants to often justify my reaction as, okay.
It's just always going back to that ego, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It's all ego-based stuff.
Yeah.
It's really ego-based stuff.
And the next is the power to withdraw.
Mm.
So, and this is the one talking about this habit of being extrovert and seeking something other than what's here. So like we scroll our phone, we click on things, we distract ourselves. And so, we're just, and it says that, it was saying that, when you do these things, they seem not a big deal, like you're just doing this, and it's saying that every time you click, you scroll, you've created a leak.
Yeah.
And you think it's not a big deal, it's not that harmful, we're not doing anything wrong, but we're creating all these leaks so unnecessarily until we just have this bucket full of holes.
It's sort of interesting, isn't it? Because I think we live in a world of distractions. That's what, phones and things. We live in a world of busyness too, don't we? But I think they have a purpose. And the purpose is not to look at myself so deeply. Because I think most people, when I don't have a distraction or I'm not running around and I'm just sitting with me, it's very uncomfortable. Because what bubbles up is a lot of memories, feelings, emotions, hurts. And I honestly believe that the distraction on the phone, the distraction of the sense organs, the running around, the busyness, it sort of suppresses this sort of feeling. And to really go, what we have to do is go deep and see who am I, and have that honest observer of the self, and know that all this emotion that comes up that creates waste is all me. It's not others. The scenes just trigger. They're just an instrument to show me what's still in me. And yet still after many years, I think Bubba's children still sort of, it's them, it's the situation. And yet that's a falsehood, really. You have to be very honest with the self, don't we?
And there seems to be some kind of pleasure seeking, like, we need entertainment, or we need...
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I just think the ultimate state in the Iron Age is distraction. Just distract your mind, because without a distraction, it'll go back into pain, hurt, sorrow, depression, resentment. And that's all sitting underneath the surface. So all this distraction keeps me on the surface, so I don't go into that stuff. And yet ultimately, as Brahmins, we have to look at it, don't we, and learn why it's there and bring change in myself rather than avoid it. We can be so good at avoiding what's sitting inside.
And also someone said that as BKs, we have beautiful company, beautiful food, beautiful atmosphere, so much. It's so wonderful. But some BKs, they don't do the inner work and do the yoga. Like there's also work to be done. And you can pass your Brahmin life in entertainment, Brahmin entertainment. Just go through your Brahmin life just being entertained.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And I mean, in a way, all the Zoom things, all the YouTube videos, does it change me, or do I just feed my head with more information? Like, I think it's good, because it's good to remain in the Jnani atmosphere, the yogi atmosphere, but ultimately I have to do the work. I have to do the work on myself, and that's what this life is about.
And maybe you're also saying be selective. Don't just also let yourself be entertained thinking that you're doing spiritual progress,
But it's a known addiction that people start scrolling on the phone and can go for hours, and you just watch useless stuff.
Yeah.
But it's packaged so cleverly that it keeps drawing you in.
Keep getting tricked. Yeah. And so what very nicely it said here, notice, so instead of being extrovert, notice yourself, whatever you're doing, like your hand reaching for something, and just be aware of it and bring your attention back to the self, and then just be still and watch and be with Baba in that space. So it's like, instead of going out there and doing this and doing that, bring yourself back, be with Baba, be still, and taste that. Do you think we can do it, or is that boring? Why don't we do that more? Why are we so drawn out?
I feel one of the deepest myths of life and our modern culture is that we've all grown up with the subtle thing that peace, love, and happiness is out there. And that's why the mind, even when you sit to meditate, the mind keeps constantly running outside, because, we feel a person or a situation is going to fulfill a need, but that's a falsehood. That's absolutely at the heart of body consciousness. Everything I need is here and with Baba. And but this is the awareness, and I have to, I've come to the conclusion, effort is attention. And I feel Brahma Baba was really just gently watching almost every thought. Not with stress, just watching. And when it was going in the wrong direction, or when it started to accumulate waste, he would just tweak it. Soul consciousness Baba, churning. And I think it's all I remember Daddy Jenkins saying once, in between Jnana and Yoga is attention. It's just paying attention. What am I thinking? Because honestly, I think sometimes we can let the mind wander down a dark place. We think. And then I'm in an unhappy place and I wonder, I don't feel happy. And yet it's obvious. I've just allowed this waste to fester in my head, and I feed it with my emotion. I just feed it. Yes, it's right. That's not fair. What they've done is not right. They're bad to me. They're putting me down. They don't like me. And I create this whole illusion inside my head, which is based on falsehood. It's not truth. It's so easy to be in self-deception
and so often on imagination.
Yeah.
How we interpret something. I remember I didn't get invited to something, and then everyone was in and not me. And I thought, and then I found out that everyone had asked to go in who wasn't invited. And they said, why didn't you just ask? But the value I put on being in there was ridiculous. So I didn't want to ask, and I'm glad I didn't, because it really made me look at this thing of putting so much value on something that's nothing.
Well, the whole game of inclusion or exclusion.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Sometimes just so easily we can feel excluded.
And we all get the test because we need it.
Yeah.
And it's very important to know what's important.
I can remember with Morni and I sitting in Melbourne, and Daddy G, when she first came on her world tour in 1977, she gave a class about the Ramayana. And she said it's actually about the two vices. And she said, these are the vices of Brahmins. And so it's all about jealousy and imagination.
Yeah.
And really imagination where, let's say we see two people talking in a room, we think, oh, maybe they're talking about me. Maybe they're thinking this. It's amazing how the mind can imagine. That is just all waste, and yet it's easy to do. Where does it come from? Lack of self-respect.
Yeah.
It's a form of ego again. And so in a way, what we're sort of seeing is so much waste comes from the seed of ego, doesn't it? The ego is just generating all this wasteful feeling and thinking.
Absolutely. And the next one is a beautiful one, the power of coolness. And what happens, why we need the power of coolness, when we need the power of coolness, is when we have this restless energy, and we rush. And there's many reasons for that rushing, but it's actually a subtle anxiety.
Yeah, it's true.
And we you know, as BKs, we don't think we have anxiety, but if we're rushing, and also it's like we think if we can do things fast, we're clever, we're successful, but fast thoughts, this is all from the materials. The materials are really good. Fast thoughts are very hard to control.
Yeah.
So we do need to just go more slowly in everything. Well, not slow, but what it's saying is accurate. Not fast, not slow. But there is a pace for everything. Very good.
You know, I've thought a lot about this, the speed of thinking. I feel almost, the law says the more I learn the art of detaching from the identity of my body, really doing that work, it's almost like equally the speed of the mind cools down. In a sense that the more I sort of let go the consciousness of the temporary self, which is the ego self in a sense, you're still aware, you're still creative, you're still, you know, but the mind is cooling down.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, when you have a lot to do and you start to think yourself into a state. And I was only saying today, I was watching Sister Genti this season, and I was just observing her life, just every few minutes into a different scene with different people, giving a talk, giving an interview, answering a question, having a meeting, giving a decision. And it's just constant from, you know, 4:45 in the morning till night. And yet she was remaining really cool the whole time. And I could just see how, you know, when you live in your self-respect, you don't allow the drama to sort of keep pushing you, or you put this pressure on yourself. Oh, you know, because I've actually had this experience in the past where when you start to think, oh, I've got all this to do and I've only got this short time, and actually you build up an imagination in your mind. And actually, when you actually do it, you do it quite quickly.
Exactly.
And it's not the problem that you thought it was. I mean, waste is an incredible thing. And I'd like to ask you, Morni, I began to think that waste is a lack of acceptance of drama. The drama is perfect. And in a way, when I have a waste thought, I'm fighting what is fixed, perfect, and unchangeable. And if I really have absorbed the truth of drama, I make effort for an outcome, but I accept it is what it is. I can't change it. And yet, how much of our thinking is fighting a scene of drama or an actor in the drama? And yet it's fixed. What's your experience of that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, when we can't accept drama, I mean, that's it, and it's on all different levels. I mean, one of the hardest ones, I think, is when we think about ourselves making a mistake.
Yeah.
But that's also drama. It's absolutely accurate, that mistake. Even if I've hurt someone, it's accurate. I mean, it seems strange, doesn't it?
But how do you clear that account? If you've hurt someone, there will be regret.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I like what you're saying about being the honest observer, because if I can be honest, I know that it won't happen again. That's the first thing. And I can talk to the person and set things right. And when I can be honest and humble enough to say, well, you know, I think I said something inappropriately, we get closer.
Yeah.
And there was someone who recently who was, you know, blaming a few of us for something, and, you know, and really upset and creating a lot of, you know, thinking. And then she did so much work on herself that she just stopped all that, and she was able to really love us. And I remember hugging this sister and saying, thank you for going through that journey, because it could have lasted forever. You know, you can create this thing with someone and blame them for something, and it can ruin the relationship forever. And it's just such a waste and such a painful thing for yourself to do that. It's not just hurting the other person, but it's more for yourself, actually. And so when we're able to be honest, then we can really move on. And then you move on with a joy because you've learned something and you've progressed. And so you don't think, whenever you think of that, you think of what you've learned and you can see the progress and you feel actually proud of yourself and happy about yourself. So yeah, that honesty is key, I would say, to the whole thing.
I sort of have had the thought that if I find my mind blaming, the mouth blames occasionally, but it's mainly the mind. The mind will blame or find a victim for. I often have the thought immediately, I've stepped out of truth. I'm in self-deception and falsehood. And it's an amazing thought because, when I'm blaming, the blame game is, sometimes I think in relationships, when we blame, why do we blame? Because we knew how to have perfect relationships. We have the sanskara. And when I can't have the perfect relationship with you, I feel a failure. So I don't want the responsibility of that failure, so I put it onto you. And really, I think it's amazing when you sort of think, well, when I'm blaming, just be aware that actually I'm out of truth. I'm an illusion, and that's waste. That's another huge avenue, and we can feed it and justify that why I'm blaming you, why you're wrong. I can be so intellectually clever, but it's all falsehood. I'm deceiving myself at that time. And it's that's honesty, isn't it? To be that honest. Yes, you did behave badly or you did something wrong, but if I keep blaming, that's all my problem.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you're emphasizing this because I realized many years ago that the greatest spiritual progress ever is when you can overcome that habit of blaming. If you blame, you cannot move because you can't change the other person anyway. So it's actually so useless. It's so useless because you can't do anything with blame, but you can do something with self-responsibility. And so I think it's key to all the progress in our life.
And yet, look at our world. It's the culture of blame. The blame game is just at every point. I heard someone say 90% of politics is finding someone to blame.
Yeah. It's finding someone, yeah.
You have to find a victim. I'm fine. I'm okay. It's them.
Yeah.
And people are so terrified of being the victim of blame. They just jump in and it's them, it's them, it's them.
And just, I want to put in this sentence, coolness. Coolness is like the shade of a tree giving rest and comfort. So just imagine, the impact of us on others as yogis when we're busy, looking a bit rushed, impatient, that energy that we're putting out compared to being cool like the shade of a tree. And certainly people need that. We feel so drawn to someone who's still and present. So this is a beautiful power, the power of coolness.
Yeah. It's like a fragrance in the mind, isn't it? And it's a fragrance which comes from dealing with my waste, because waste sort of heats up the mind, doesn't it? And then when I really have coolness, then it sort of cools the mind down. I'm really fascinated how this relationship between waste and power, I really feel we're at a time we need spiritual power. Yes, it's good to be loving. Yes, it's good to be peaceful. That's all good. But we're at a time where there's so much upheaval out there. I need the power to put the full stop. I need spiritual strength and power, and waste just drains. You know what Baba once said? Really loved it. He said, you people, referring to the Brahman, you sit in bhattis and you fill up with power. The bhatti finishes, you open your mouth and it all drains out again. And it's true that we just, we just talk about really meaningless, trivial. It's not negative. It's just, it has no value.
Yeah.
It has no value. And I think that also, we just have to really be careful to accumulate, don't we? Not, because sometimes we accumulate and then waste just drains us again. Yeah.
And so that's what this whole month is about. Looking at the waste and looking at the antidote, the power that will help me overcome that particular specific aspect of waste. And one of the others that's mentioned in here, and we can finish with this and have our meditation, but one of the other thing is that when we think about what we've done wrong, you know, we put so much weight on that, and we do so much good, all of us do so much good, but that one wrong makes the weight we put on is so heavy. So really paying attention to this also, that we don't just see mistakes but see the good things, you know.
Absolutely.
So it's
I used to have this little saying that, and if you have 100 friends and acquaintances and 99 love you and one hates you, who do you think about? I mean, why don't we say, isn't it great? 99 people love me. We get obsessed with that person.
With the one.
Is that normal? Is that normal?
It's not normal. It's not normal.
Why do we do it then? Why we? Because I think
the weight.
It is. It's that weight of. I think the greatest hurt for the human soul is to be rejected, to feel unloved or not included by somebody, and that just spins the head into so much wasteful thinking, doesn't it? And yet it's going to happen to us, isn't it? We're all going to be. It's the time. I mean, even I've seen the daddies. Sometimes people oppose them, and they just lived in their self-respect. Even Brahma Baba, as we know, you know.
Well, I remember Baba speaking to you personally, Charlie, and saying to you, "Don't worry, even people complain about me, you know." Something like that. Even everyone's not happy with me.
What happened was, I'll finish the story. I came back from London. I was living in Melbourne, and then in 1980 I was asked to move to Sydney. And when I moved to Sydney, there was a brother's house, and there were some problems with it. And when I went to Madhavan, we had the meeting in the history hall. I sat in front of Baba. Baba gave me long drishti, and then Baba said, "Is everyone happy with you?" You know, what do I say?
No.
And I didn't answer. And then it was so sweet. Baba said, "Don't worry, some aren't happy with Baba." Isn't he great?
Beautiful.
And then he went to so much effort to explain that. And he said, sometimes I meet someone for 10 minutes, and this person said, "Oh, this person thinks Baba met them for 10 minutes, me only 3 minutes." So Baba he went to a great length to make me feel comfortable. That, you know, sometimes you can please some of the people some of the time, but you can't please all of the people all of the time.
Yeah, correct.
As we know.
Correct. Okay, so let's have some really beautiful yoga together. We've set the intention. We've got a taste of the materials that we're going to be exploring. And let's have, 10, 12 minutes of meditation, and then we'll just come back on and close this. So we'll finish, within 15 minutes. So please stay with us till the end, and we'll announce the next one. And Charlie's going to speak a little guided, commentary. And I'm going to stay here because I can't go anywhere. We're together. So, Charlie, please lead us.
Yes, thanks, Morni. And I just would like to sort of validate what Morni was just saying, that I think, these little programs help us keep our focus. Time is so precious at the moment. And as Baba's been saying recently, up Morni's, that time is our most precious treasure, because this is the time I'm creating my eternal fortune. And the habit to generate waste just saps my happiness and power. So let's just sit very quietly. There won't be any background music, and I'll just offer a few thoughts, and we'll have a little bit of silence as well. We've all been exploring this beautiful program, Pass with Honor, where I look at my heart honestly to assess the account of waste that is still sitting within me. Baba is making me the Master Almighty Authority. But what keeps me away from this experience? The account of waste drains my happiness, drains my enthusiasm, drains my power, and makes me feel weak. Now let me observe my mind. My mind is the center of my life. My whole world meets in my mind. My thoughts, my feelings, my reactions, my memories, my relationships, and the quality of my life experience depends on the quality of thoughts I create. When my thoughts are of truth, soul consciousness, Baba, the quality of those thoughts fill my mind with a fragrance of lightness, purity, and well-being. But when I allow my sense organs to dominate my mind, I see a bad behavior. I let it through my eyes, and it drives my thinking. The account of waste increases. I hear one tiny comment, a criticism. I let it in my ears and drives my thinking. The account of waste is in a way the soul's subservience to my senses, letting the outside world drive the inside world. But Baba teaches me to become the master and create the thoughts I want. To become aware of who I am as a soul. And I link my mind to Baba. The more I become bodiless, the more I enter Baba's world. Baba comes closer. The more bodiless I become, I feel Baba more and I think less. I connect to Baba through my pure feelings of love, belonging, closeness. And those feelings generate such high quality thoughts. And the account of waste finishes. To remember Baba, I really can't have any waste. The highest state of the soul is to remember Baba. And when that remembrance is accurate, I finish the account of waste. Let us begin this month with genuine determination to reduce this habit of allowing my mind to spin with overthinking, overanalyzing, the waste that saps my happiness and power. But the aim is not to try and not have waste. The aim is to hold Baba's truth in my mind. So I fill my mind with quality thoughts and quality feelings. And automatically the account of waste reduces. It's in just these few moments remaining. Feel this deep determination. Baba, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make this effort.
Om Shanti. Baba's been emphasizing how important it is for us all to have the same thought. And this is a month where we can all focus on this practice. He says, when we're united, revelation will happen. So another benefit of this program is bring us all into one direction. So thank you to everyone who joined and is taking part in this. And we look forward to you all joining next week. I'll just make a few announcements first. This has been recorded, but the recording will only be available for the next 4 days. And yeah, the portal link is there. So if you just take a minute to, click on these links and save things from the box there, the chat box. And just to announce that the next meeting, we're now going to be having these meetings on a Saturday. because many people, you know, if you think about the time zones, for some people it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and for others it could be all different times. So we're going to have these on a Saturday so that, you know, more of our divine family can join us, because many were at work during this time. So it will be on a Saturday, and you can see the times. It's going to be 7 o'clock Australian time, that's 5 o'clock Malaysian time, and you can look up the time that corresponds to your country. I know it gets a bit confusing, but we do have to do that to get the time right. And it's wonderful that we'll have Sister Chris from 5Doc, who's in the Asia Pacific RC team, and she's going to be joined by Sister Janaki from Bali, Indonesia, the National Coordinator of Indonesia. So it'll be a little bit similar program for the next week. So please do join again, and we're also very happy to take any feedback, you know, so that you can get the most out of this. But thank you, Charlie, and it was just so wonderful that you were here in Yarra, that we could do this together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Bye. Wow.
Thank you, everybody. It's been so lovely.
Thank you. Thank you, Morni. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good week without waste thought.
Yes. Oh, we'll feel so good. Imagine a week of no waste thoughts. Can you imagine? Great.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, and Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Thank you. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Shanti.
Om